Hello everyone, welcome to my new recipe video. Thanks to all those who have returned from subscribing, and welcome to anyone that's brand new. So yeah, what you can see is what you're going to need to cook the pie. So for the spices, you're going to need coriander powder, paprika, and a bit of chili powder, along with some cloves of garlic. The first thing we're going to need to do is to weigh out the flour so we can make the pastry. We need to get the pastry in first because it needs some chill time in the fridge. So firstly, weigh out about 10 ounces of flour. And we're also going to need 5 ounces of unsalted butter. Next, we're going to cube up the butter so when we put it in the food processor, it breaks down it quicker. Now we add the butter and the flour to the food processor, shove the lid on, and away we go. What we were looking for is just a fine, once it starts coming to like a fine crumbly texture, and once that's done, we can put it on again and add a bit of water just to bring it together. Only enough so it just starts holding together. We don't want it too wet, basically. We can now empty out onto a floured surface and just start bringing it together, so it's all incorporated. Once the dough just starts coming together and tightening up a little bit, then we can wrap the dough up in cling film. So we shove it in the fridge for at least half an hour until we need it again. This just allows the pastry to rest and the butter to congeal again. Next, we're going to dice up the peppers and the onions. The peppers we want to dice up into sort of, relatively big chunks, not tiny little pieces. And again, for the onions, we still want sort of relatively big chunks. We don't want a fine dice on this. A technique I picked up for cutting leeks is to score along both sides. Cut along both sides of the leek, and then we can chop along the length and get nice fine pieces. Next, we can debone and deskin our chicken. What we could do is just score almost either side of the bone, and you can push the bone out and away from you. There is a little bit of gristle just at the bottom of the chicken, which you should just cut that off. And yeah, check there's no bones, nothing left on the chicken, and then you're good to go. So yeah, once you've deskinned and deboned all your thighs, you can give it a little bit of slap and tickle and begin to dice it up into small chunks. Nothing too bad, maybe about 1/2 to 3/4 inch pieces. Now you can also dice up your chorizo into small pieces.
If you watch it back.
So once you've got all your garlic peeled in extra fast time, you can now begin to get this finely diced. Now we've prepped everything ready to go, we can get on with the cooking. So get a nice medium pan and coat it with oil. We can then add the onions and also make sure to add a little bit of salt just to make sure that when we're cooking it down, it does help it bring out the moisture a bit quicker. So we just want to fry this off for a good, I think it's about 5 minutes roughly, just to get it to a nice brown and translucent texture, which should look something a bit like that. So I think it was about 5 to 10 minutes to get to this stage. At this point, you want to add the chorizo. You will then want to stir fry it for about 4 to 5 minutes until the flavour and the oil has come out the chorizo and into the onions. So once the chorizo is fried down a little bit, we can then add the rest of the veggies and get them fully incorporated into the rest of the mixture. We want to again fry this down for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we can add the spices and also the garlic. Again, mix this all up and get this all incorporated and fry this off for an extra little bit of time, about a few minutes, making sure to scrape off all the flavour off of the bottom of the pan. We can then add the wine, so I added about a glass of wine and also a zest of a lemon. I didn't want to add the juice because the wine's already quite acidic. Get this all stirred up and make sure the wine gets all boiled off. At this point, you can now add the flour in. I added roughly 4 heaped tablespoons full. You want it a quite amount of flour just to make it so it's really thick. So when you do put it into the pie casing, it's not going to come out extremely runny. You could probably even add a bit more than this, because at the end you'll see my pie is still quite runny. But yeah, get this all incorporated and do fry it off a little. You can also add in the tomato puree at this point as well, and again get that all stirred in. So once the mixture is fried off a bit, you can then now add the milk in. I do like to add this in smaller stages, just to help it not clump up. It's actually it's a lot easier to do. So yeah, add the first batch, get that all mixed in, and then you can add the next batch of milk into it. So now you've added enough milk to make your sauce begin to look a bit like this. We can then set it aside on maybe like a medium to low heat, and just have that simmering away in the background. So after about 5 or 10 minutes and the sauce is thickened up, we can begin to cook our chicken. I did this on a pretty high heat into a large frying pan. I did it in small batches just to make sure and don't overcrowd the pan. Make sure also to season well with salt and pepper. So once both batches of chicken have browned nicely on either side, we can now add this to the pie mixture. Now importantly, we don't want to waste all that goodness in the bottom of the pan. It's just flavour, so just get a bit of wine that was left over and deglaze it. Make sure to scrape off all the froth and frond on the bottom of the pan. Boil it away so it does get rid of quite a lot of the alcohol taste, and then we can add this back into the mixture. Now this is all stirred in, we can add the peas and get that all incorporated. Once this is fully mixed in, we can then leave that aside to cool down for a bit, and then we can work on to the pastry. So yeah, make sure you've got a nice clean surface, dust it with plenty of flour, and make sure your rolling pin is completely coated as well. This helps it not to stick. So we begin by rolling the pastry out. Keep alternating between your ties so you keep it nice and even. What you're looking to get is about 1/4 inch, so 6-7 millimeters thick, and at least enough to cover your dish that you're going to put the pie into. At this point, you can then roll it up and set it aside. So roll it up on the pin, set it aside, and then we can bring in our dish. We can now also bring in our cooled pie mixture and add this to the dish. So now we've got our spread out pie mixture. We can then bring in the pastry and roll this over the top of the dish. So now we can trim up all the excess pastry that we have on the pie. This doesn't need to be massively neat or tidy. Once it's cooking, it's gonna cook out anyway, so it doesn't really matter. At this point, I also grabbed the fork and pinched around the edge just to give a bit of a pattern. It doesn't need to perfectly stick. When it's cooking, it's gonna set quite nicely. Just for a bit of decoration, I did do a little leaf, which was terrible knife skills because I put my finger on the edge of the blade there. But yeah, don't do what I did. But yeah, if you want to do any you can do anything you want, really. It doesn't really matter. I did a couple of leaf. It looked like a bit of holly, basically. So just to get the pastry nice and brown on the top, I did a quick egg wash and coated the whole top of the pastry dough. Just to let a bit of the steam out during cooking. I did prick it in several locations. And now we put it into a preheated oven, gas mark 5. I don't know what the Celsius is or the American Fahrenheit, but yeah, 45 minutes in the oven at gas mark 5. And then we are good to go. So yeah, you can pretty much serve this how you want. I usually have it with either some peas or some vegetables. You can also do some extra potatoes if you like. It's up to you. It's pie. Do whatever you usually do with pie. But yeah, thank you for watching if you've got all this way. I'm going to try and get some more consistent content up soon. But yeah, thank you for sticking to the end, and like if you liked, subscribe if you want to see more of this, and thank you very much. But yeah, enjoy some ultra fast eating now. Goodbye.